Hi, and welcome to Your Future, Your Finances. I'm your host, Brian Kuhn. We have another great segment for you today. This segment is about finding a financial planner. Have you ever looked online or talked with a friend or family member about trying to pick a financial advisor and find that a tough process? Well, today we're talking with Kahlid Usmani of Guidevine.com. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Brian. Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit about the site and your background.
Yeah, absolutely. So Guidevine is a site that helps people that are looking for a financial advisor find the right one. And I think the emphasis is on the right person.
Yeah.
So people go to our site, provide us a little bit of information about yourselves in terms of what you're looking for, where you are, things that are important to you, life stage. And then based on that, we have a vetted group of advisors, hundreds of them actually, that we can choose, that you can choose from and learn more about, and then ultimately pick the one that you like. Yeah.
Does everyone need a financial advisor?
That's a good question. We get that a lot of times. And you would imagine that from our perspective, we would say, well, everyone should have one. And I would say it's not appropriate for everyone, but I think for people whose lives are getting a bit more complex. And when I mean complex, financially complex, that could be you've increased your size of your family, you have a business, you're thinking about estate planning, you're getting close to retirement. There are a lot of other financial questions that are popping up. And I think at that time, especially if you have a reasonable amount of assets, it becomes important to really have an expert help you think through some of these important financial decisions. The same way that people, when they have a health issue, they go to a professional, they go to their doctor, or if they have a legal question, they go to their lawyer, or anyone else that's a professional depending on the issue. And I think that for people that have some of these questions or are not really sure where to turn, using or leveraging a financial advisor can be really helpful. And there are different types of advisors, and we'll probably go into that, but having someone in your corner can be really helpful. And on the other end, on the other side of it, I'd say that there's a lot of talk about robos. People say, oh, should I use a robo-advisor? Should I use Wealthfront, Betterment? Should I use some of the Vanguard kind of options out there, and other firms offer it as well? And I'd say they're not necessarily mutually exclusive. There are advisors that actually leverage robo tools. And ultimately, it really depends on what your needs are. In some cases, a robo on its own may be the perfect solution. In some cases, it won't. And it really depends.
So before you start looking, what are some things you should consider about yourself and your own situation?
Yeah. So I think a lot of people are very quick to jump and find an advisor. And oftentimes, and I've talked to hundreds of advisors, one of the things they'll tell me is that, let's say a husband and wife come into their office, they actually haven't even talked to themselves really about what their goals are or what they're looking to accomplish.
I agree with that.
And I think if you're married, for example, I think it's critical to talk to your spouse. What's important? What are you trying to accomplish? What are some of the challenges that you have? And make sure that you're on the same page and not assume that. And I think once you have a sense for what you're trying to solve for, you're in a much better position to actually search for the right advisor.
As long as that doesn't prevent the meeting from ever happening, I guess, right?
Yeah.
If the couple doesn't get together and talk about their goals ahead of time for a while.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have these personal preferences. Let's say, the goal is retiring. That's a popular one. So then what do you do? What are you looking for online and in a planner?
Yeah, so I think the first step, what you'll notice is that you have to think through, well, what type of advisor do I want? And if you've ever talked to someone about it, or you have a family member that may have an advisor, what you'll quickly recognize is that there's so many different types of professionals out there. It can get confusing. What's a CFA versus a CPA versus AIF? There's so many different credentials. And I think at a basic level, you want to understand, well, what do you need help with? Are you trying to figure out a plan? Do you need a plan to figure out how to get to retirement or how to chart out what you're trying to do? And in that case, you may want to focus on finding a financial planner or someone who focuses on that. Or is your focus more around, hey, I have investments in my 401k or in my own brokerage account at E-Trade, and I really want to figure out how to optimize the money that I have in a more effective way. You may be, in which case you may be looking for someone who's more of a portfolio manager. And then another scenario, I'd say the third common scenario is that I want a little bit of both. I need someone to kind of give me a plan that I can execute on, but also help me actually manage some of the nuts and bolts so that I can get there. And I think once you've got a sense for what you're looking for, you can start looking for advisors that kind of fall within some of those buckets.
Some of those credentials that you just mentioned, for anybody that's watching who doesn't know, you mind explaining what those are?
Sure. So so CPA is someone that is accredited to handle your taxes. A CFA is someone that is a certified chartered financial analyst, and that's someone typically that has a better sense on kind of the technicals of investing and things like that. And there are other. So those are some certifications, and then you may also see memberships. So people are part of, let's say, NAPFA, National Advise. NAPFA is a group of advisors that are fee-only advisors across the country. So there are different types of groups out there, and if you go to at Guidevine, we actually have a full list of all the different designations, membership, certifications, and what do they mean? Which ones are really important depending on what you need, and which ones are less important.
Yeah, I can explain that on the site.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, good. So you've narrowed down this search. Let's say you've used the site and have a couple names, people you're willing to meet with. Yeah. What would be the next steps normally?
Yeah, so a few more questions that I would ask is how important is it for the advisor to be local versus remote? So I would say most people want someone that they can kind of drive to or reasonably close. But I've talked to a lot of people that say, you know what, I don't really care where my advisor is as long as they're doing what I need them to do, and using FaceTime or video chat is perfectly fine. So you would want to identify that. Also, the other thing is, how involved do you want your advisor to be? What type of contact level would you like? And part of that may factor into the proximity, but also just understanding, like, do you want to have someone that you can talk to every single day? Maybe a little bit too much, but or someone you can talk to every few months. Is that the right contact level? So once you kind of get some of these basic preferences on how you want to engage, you're very well prepared to actually start the search to find someone.
Fantastic. We got to take a brief break. We're speaking with Kahlid Usmani of Guidevine.com regarding the process of choosing a financial advisor. You're watching Your Future, Your Finances. We'll be right back.